That old Rodriguez lady's something else, trying to give those town kids these toys for Christmas. She's a real Mrs. Santa Claus. We're talking Rubik, the Amazing Cube. Hit it. It was 1983. The Greg Kinn Band was in jeopardy. Cheech and Chong were still smoking. And Rubik the Amazing Cube had a Mexican Christmas adventure. I'm your host, Jerry D, with another episode of Totally Rad Christmas, the podcast that talks all things Christmas in the 80s. Toys, movies, specials, music, and fads. If it was gnarly during Christmas in the 80s, we got it covered. Now, joining me are two Totally Rad Christmas all-stars. My first guest, you'll know from Wizards, the podcast guide to comics. Remember that show, Rental Return, Thrift Store Horde, and Wax Pack Flashback? It's Adam Pope. Adam, how's it going?
Hey, Jerry. Good to be back.
It's always great to have you. I love that I can ask you to do these crazy, weird shows, and you're like, yeah, let's do it. And you're not alone, because my next guest is the man who's forgotten more about pop culture than you'll ever know. From Remember That Show, also, and West Week Ever, it's William Bruce West. William, what's happening?
Hello. Thank you for having me.
We're going to have a great political discussion today. We're going to talk about the economy.
I'm anticipating the round table to describe our extraterrestrial friend Rubik.
Oh man, is he an alien? Is he magic? Is he some sort of demon creature? I don't know, but I want to get into it, so I'm excited. Guys, it's always great to have you on the show. This last episodes that we've all done, I know, Adam, we did Bionic 6, we've done some fantastic things, and William, we talked Beverly Hills Teens, and with both of y'all was ER, and all those I've had so much fun, so I've been excited for this one all week. We're talking Rubik, but before we do that, just like Carol Kane did to Bill Murray and Scrooged, I want you to hit me with the toaster. So I'm going to ask you a few questions and just hit me with the first answer that you come up with, okay? So let's say you're making a Muppet version of Rubik. Which Muppet performer do you think would voice Rubik?
I mean, I know who I want, who would actually get me excited to watch the show, and that's Pepe the Prawn. I think he would feel great. Maybe he would, be able to have a little bit more attitude, but that's what I felt I needed from Rubik. So yeah, I'd have to go with Pepe.
All right, I like that.
Well, I'm not trying to get canceled, so I'm going to go with Fozzie Bear.
That's a good one too. Yeah. Yeah. I like both those. I was thinking Gonzo. I think Gonzo would be interesting choice.
That was my first choice, and then that felt safe. And I was like, no, we're going to crank the Waka Waka to 11. We're going with Fozzie.
I love it. Oh, all right. Okay, I'm into that. Who do you think would win in a fight between Rubik, the Amazing Cube, and Cubic, the Cosmic Cube from Marvel Comics?
Wow. Well, I mean, they both seem to have omnipotent powers. Like anything right. You need, they could do it all. I mean, I think you can't discount the power of cuteness. So my money is in Rubik's corner. Somehow he would win out with just his cutesy voice, and he would bat his eyes, doing his little Puss in Boots style thing, and maybe he would win the day that way.
All right. I like that.
What do you think, William? Between Rubik and Cubic?
Yeah.
The fans.
Touche. Yeah.
Yep. I'm going with Cubic. And I don't even know a lot about Cubic except for like one. I want to say recent, and then I realized it was like 8 years ago. But like, storyline where they created like a town that they imprisoned all the Marvel villains in, but they like rehabilitated. But it was this whole like ethical thing of like, is it wrong to brainwash villains and treat them well? So like, I'm going with Cubic.
All right. I think Cubic was the one that was also responsible for Captain America becoming Captain Hydra.
Yeah, we're not
Ooh.
supposed to talk about that though. They get all mad on the internet when you bring
That's
up that
You know
story.
what? You can address all your hate mail to Totally Rad Christmas and Jerry Davila. That's okay. I like both those. And finally, let's say you're spending Christmas with Rubik and the Rodriguezes. Would you rather trim the tree, go caroling, or go Christmas shopping?
Wow. Okay. Well, because it's like 1983, 1984, I want to go shopping because I want to go to the toy aisle. So yeah,
Yeah.
I want to go shopping with them back in the day.
All right. I like that.
This one's tough because none of those options are actually in this episode.
Nope.
Like I mean, it's like, do you want to beat a piñata? Do you want to sing with Menudo? Do you?
You want to
I'm
fight
with
off an eagle?
I'm with Adam on this one. I want to go shopping. You know, I'll
Yeah.
bring $20 and buy the entire aisle.
Yeah. For real. I I'm right there with you because 1983. So you're talking like Return of the Jedi toys. He-Man's already been out. You've had a couple of waves of GI Joe. So yeah, I'm all in on that. Well, that's just a way for our listeners to get to know you guys a little bit better. So thank you for that. Now today we are talking about Rubik, the Amazing Cube.
On a mysterious night, Rubik Cube appeared, bringing happiness. Rubik Cube has changed everything in our lives. He's colorful, magical, lovable. Rubik.
What do you guys remember about Rubik? Like, what's your history or experience with it? Why don't we start with you, William?
Nothing, none. This is one of those shows that I knew existed mainly through like those Saturday morning preview kind of inserts that used to be in comics, you know, like
Oh,
those
yeah,
and
yeah.
like the kickoff special were the only times they pretended that like all of these things lived in the same like shared universe, you know. So like I've seen it like ABC Saturday mornings, but 83, I'm two, but
Mhm.
also I was never an ABC Saturday morning kid. So it's like this
Okay.
this wouldn't have crossed my path, but I learned everything about this show from this. I didn't know Rubik had powers. Like you said, we don't know if he's magic or an alien or a demon or like it's just like he could be anything. Like, and I the thing that blew my mind, and like I'm surprised we don't talk about it more. Like, was this some kind of like iconic moment for representation? Like the entire family, they're all Latino
They're
kids.
all Hispanic,
And
yeah.
like the theme song was sung by Menudo, and like they
Right.
really shoved the like Spanglish down your throat. Like it's not natural, like it's not organic, you know. It's just kind of like, but it's just enough that if this were like the late 90s, they would have qualified for that like EI thing where it's like it's educational and
Right.
informative, you know, but it's like they aren't really like it doesn't feel natural. It's kind of like how I always read that Dora the Explorer was originally a bunny rabbit, but then
Oh.
like at the last minute they're like, hey, you know, we could kill two birds with one stone if we just make her like this
Wow.
I
little
love that.
girl, and then she can teach people another language, you know. So
That's
it's like
hilarious.
that, you know, because looking at it, like watching this, and I know we'll get into it, but I'm just kind of like, I really tried to think along the lines of, is this a Christmas episode? And is there anything about this episode that makes it unique to Rubik? Like, was this just in the Ruby Spears like inventory drawer from some other show and they just animated it here? Like, I was really trying to see what made this a Rubik Christmas special.
Yeah, I feel you. And I might have a slight answer. I don't know if it's a good answer. I might have an answer for that. What about you, Adam? What's your history or experience?
Well, so my older brother, he was a total 80s nerd. Okay, he played Dungeons and Dragons. He had a Commodore
Nice.
64 and other early computers that he programmed. He had his Atari. He would go to the original photon laser tag arenas when those started popping up and play
Wow.
laser tag. I mean, he was that guy. And so you better believe he had a Rubik's Cube and many permutations, of those handheld puzzles on
Right.
his desk in his room, like that long one that was kind of like a snake, that
Oh
like
yeah.
twists. Yeah, like
Yeah.
that whole thing. So I would sneak into his room a lot and play with stuff on his desk. And the Rubik's Cube was always like top of the list item I wanted to grab. Next to he had this prism that I love to look through also. But anyway, so I was very familiar with what a Rubik's Cube was when I was 3 years old. And I was seeing like syndicated reruns of Rubik the Amazing Cube, because
Mhm.
when it was on, I was like, one, like I wasn't watching it on ABC Saturday mornings, but it definitely was like very early. Like I have vivid memories, 6 a.m. waking up and going out to the TV and turning it on, and here's Rubik the Amazing Cube, and then afterwards there'd be stuff like Groovy Ghoulies and whatever,
Oh yeah.
Gilligan's Planet, but like Rubik was there too. So I have the memories of watching it, and like Will was saying, I don't think most people know that this show existed. Like it doesn't have a huge footprint,
Right.
but I definitely like remember being excited that this the colorful twisty cube, whatever it was, like I didn't have a description for it when I was little. Now had like this magical character associated with it. But that being said, I remembered all these years nothing about the kids who carried them around in their pockets, the setup for the show. I just remember a Rubik's Cube with a face and legs. And that's what I remembered existing. But like
Yep.
the whole premise just totally escaped me.
Yeah, and I'm I'm a little bit, well, I guess I am different from y'all. I do remember this because remember, I'm from South Texas where we're like 98% Hispanic. So Menudo was like everybody's grandma and their aunt and like cousins listened to Menudo. Same thing. Rubik came out and it was like, yeah, these kids are like us. They all, I mean, I'm a little bit on the lighter complected side, but I am Hispanic. So it was like they all look like us and they sound like us. This is our show. Having said that, I didn't remember anything about Rubik until I had to go back and cover it like a few years ago with Mike Westfall, which, by the way, go check out that episode on Advent Calendar House, listeners. But like, same thing. I'd forgotten he was magic. I'd forgotten until I saw it again that the kids were Latino. And it brought me back, though. As soon as I started watching it, it brought me back to that era where like we were all like, yeah, I love Duke from G.I. Joe. I love, He-Man, but these are all blonde guys. They're not like us, we're tan complected. We have dark hair. Most of us have accents. So it was like our show. Now, this show is bonkers. Don't get me wrong, but but it was really cool. And I know we were talking about what makes it a Christmas episode. And you're right. It does feel like this whole plot could have been part of any show, and they just kind of shoehorned some Christmas things into it. I will say though that this whole atmosphere of like the cactus and the desert and like some mesquite trees and everything is very much like South Texas Christmas. So this was like Christmas to me, which is strange, right?
Can I ask? So, like, that's
Go for it.
that's
Yeah,
actually really cool to learn about. Like, that was like your show, But was the Rubik Cube a big deal in like the Latin community? You know what I mean?
No.
Like, that was the thing that got it was like
Which
that
there's a
merger.
big disconnect. Yeah, yeah, there's a cognitive dissonance there. No, Rubik's Cube was not. I had some cousins that had one, and then I remember after they got tired of it, they just left it at my aunt's, and I was a kid that would like peel the stickers off and like to
That
try to
That's what
solve
I
it.
did. That's what I did. Because I didn't realize we were supposed to talk about our memories of the actual toy. I was a sticker mover.
Yeah, same. I was a sticker mover too. It was like, I would try to do it and get frustrated. Like, all right, you know what? I know how to solve this thing.
Exactly. And what our young listeners don't realize was that like we were all legally required to carry a Rubik's Cube in the 80s. Like, if you didn't have one, you would be assigned one at your local gas station. So, like, the roads were just littered with these cubes, and it was a mess. That's part of the ozone layer hole. It was all connected.
Well, and we should say, just on that tack, like we are in a situation now where over the years, the speed competitions, there are speed cubes that twist faster. Like my oldest son, like 2 or 3 years ago, he got really deep into Rubik's Cube. So he has like 3 or 4 different speed cubes and he's watching the YouTube videos. And he really thought that was going to be his ticket to fame, at some point.
Right.
Your old wizard partner's son is still doing those competitions.
Really?
Wow, you don't know? Steven's son does them on the weekends. He's actually pretty good. Look at that.
It's crazy. And it's not like we had Google back in the day. You couldn't just look up how to do Rubik's Cube. You had to figure it out or know someone that knew how to do it.
Well, and I found books at Goodwill that literally are the strategy guides on how to solve the Rubik's Cube, which is crazy.
Yeah. So if you were lucky enough to find one, then, but our library didn't have any. And, back then you had to go look it up in card catalogs to find anything. And now you just type it in and you're fine. But so, yeah, the whole thing was like, it was a big phenomenon, had really nothing to do with South Texas or Mexico or any of that, Southern California. But on the other hand, it was kind of cool to see us in a in a show. Now, the whole thing was based on Erno Rubik's 3D puzzle that we all know. It was released internationally in May of 1980 by Ideal Toys, and it even won German Game of the Year. That kind of blew it up because he invented it in like 74, 75. It was like super, super early, like way earlier than I thought. And starting in March of 81, they started having speed cubing championships. So like a year after it was, not even a year after it was released, it was like they started seeing who could do it fastest. It's the strangest thing, right? Like there's a competition for everything. I wouldn't have guessed that there would be something like that, but sure enough, there was. And Ruby Spears hopped on the bandwagon because it was and still is considered the biggest selling toy of all time. Between 80 and 83, it sold like 200 million toys, which was like ridiculous. So yeah, it was big stuff. Anyway, this particular show is done on ABC, like I said, from September 10th to December 10th, 1983. We're going to be talking about episode 10, Rubik's First Christmas, aired on November 19th, 1983. Let's run down the cast real quick, and then we'll just dive into this thing. So, of course, Rubik was Ron Palillo, who everybody knows as Horseshack from Welcome Back, Kotter.
He's right, Mr. Carter. If you was yourself today and Vinny said them things to you, well, you probably would have said something like, hey, Vinny, you know why you don't got no freckles? Because they probably slide off.
Yeah, recorded his voice and then just sped up. I remember when I found that out, it blew my mind because I was like, that doesn't sound anything like him, but...
I mean, I feel like if he had a loaded Rubik's Cube, Ron Palillo really could have taken out Dustin Diamond in their boxing match on Celebrity Boxing. He needed an equalizer.
We have to say the late Ron Palillo.
And the late Dustin Diamond. They're battling it out in heaven right now.
That's right. Maybe they're battling it up there.
Hulk Hogan triple threat match too soon.
Oh no.
Well, that was later when Dustin Diamond got trained as a professional wrestler on Celebrity Wrestling. That was so weird.
Oh, Screech.
And Ozzy Osbourne's doing the music wherever it is.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'd watch that for sure. But yeah, so he's Rubik. I mean, he kind of sounds, I guess, what I would expect Rubik to sound like, with like the high-pitched, kind of whiny, nasally voice, almost chipmunk-esque, but not quite.
Okay, Carlos. Rubik handle everything fine.
And the one thing that did bother me about Rubik is his face, right? Because he's a cube, but he's got like the little hands, little legs. But his
he
face
reminds me of a Cushkin. Do you remember when Cush balls had to become actual toys? with a whole. I mean, they didn't create a mythology, but they were just like, let's put arms and legs and faces on him. It's a Kushkin. That's what he looks like to me.
I wanted him to stay
Totally.
cubic though. Like you're saying, I don't like his face either. Like
Yeah.
he should look 8-bit. You know, like his face should be a square, his eyes should be square. Like it just, I don't know.
It's like,
yeah.
they gave him the Pac-Man treatment, and like I guess it made sense because later on he was paired. It was like a 1 hour show. It was like the Pac-Man Rubik the Amazing Cube Hour, so you have like the sphere and the cube kind of back to back.
I see.
That's unnatural. They're unevenly yoked and don't belong together.
Yeah, but like Pac-Man, at least he still kind of keeps his features. He doesn't have like this extra face on top of his round body, right? And so it always was kind of odd to me the way they drew Rubik.
And of course, it's one of those Wikipedia entries that tells you nothing, where it's just kind of like, you knew the toy, like Ideal had to have been involved somewhere, and I want to see like the sketches that didn't make it. Like there
Right.
probably like 35 different designs out
Just
there.
concept
and this
art.
is the one they went with.
Right. This is the one that they thought was cute enough and scary enough because it was the 80s. Everything kids had to be scary.
They gave like Ron Palillo like final decision, but he was like hungover that morning. He's like, that one. He just randomly points.
The face, the more I think about it, is you guys got to remember these from the 80s comics for Reese's Pieces. After they lost the ET license, they came up with their own alien that was hawking Reese's Pieces. And the face design on that alien, that's what Rubik looks like, just with a blue hue.
It's very much of like, there's a lot pulled from that era, like you're saying that, but there's like he's giving Glomer, and it's not time yet for Glomer,
right?
But like there was this thing floating around Hollywood where it's like, I don't know, guys, I grew up with the Great Kazoo and I need a flying alien, so I don't know what you got to do, but you give me a flying alien and I'll invest.
I just see the picture, the exec with a cigar, like, all right, kid, put a flying alien in it. Right. We're good. So that's Rubik. Michael Bell is the older brother, Reynaldo Rodriguez, Ronaldo. And so, of course, Michael Bell, Duke from G.I. Joe, Lance from Voltron, Sideswipe from Transformers.
Way to go, guys. Now let's put some yo back in Joe.
I love Michael Bell. Right away, you can tell it's his voice. Like,
it felt like Duke was undercover.
It totally did. Yes. Totally. He's like trying to infiltrate the Dreadnoks, and so he puts on a Mexican accent.
Yeah, you can do it.
And then the other two siblings really didn't do much at all. We have Jennifer Fajardo as Lisa and Michael Salcedo as Carlos, who was in General Hospital later on. That's kind of about it. Like and there's a lot of like big name players that do other voices, but I couldn't make them out at all in this. So I don't know if they were even in this episode. And then lastly, before we get into it, I just want to talk about the music was composed by Dean Elliott, who did like a ton of the Ruby Spears and some of the other things. So like Cat in the Hat, the Lorax, Ricky Tikki Tavi, Thundar the Barbarian. Like he wrote the music for a lot of stuff. And then, like you said, Menudo sang the theme song. So yeah, it's like you couldn't turn on Televisión without seeing Menudo on it somewhere. So
it's crazy because like, especially when like Ricky Martin came back, well, like his solo career, and everybody talked about like, oh wow, he was in Menudo. I can't name a Menudo song. Like, I don't know what happened in pop culture. Like, we just don't talk about it. And I am a boy band historian, and I can't name a Menudo song. Like, it could come on, and I'd be like, I don't know what that is. And it's just so strange to me, especially given that it was kind of like musical Power Rangers, where you're like swapping in new kids once puberty hit. There should be like 87 members of Menudo out there, but like they're not hosting like Sabido Gigante or anything like that, like
their reunion concert is full. It's like a full orchestra, Yeah, no, and the funny thing is I've heard them like most of my childhood life and I can't name a song from them either. So don't feel bad. They do
There
have a
should be at
Christmas
least like
album which I do want
one
to
that's
cover
like the
eventually.
Bobby Brown, because even Ricky Martin's like kind of done, like, but there should be one still milking it who's like on tour, and you're kind of ashamed to be seeing him because he's really out of shape, but he reminds you of your childhood, so you fork
Yeah,
over the $75.
that's right. I feel like it's like music and lyrics, where Hugh Grant was still kind of touring.
I
I kind
love
of feel
that
like
movie
he'd
so
be.
much.
I do too, but he'd be like that, right? Just one guy just dancing to his tunes.
Yep,
Uh,
yep.
that's basically everything. Let's jump into this episode. So the whole thing begins with the family, the Rodriguez family driving through the Mexican desert singing Feliz Navidad, because of course they did, and heading to grandma's house.
Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Prospero año y felicidad. That was a lot of fun. But after 87 times, I get a little bored.
Now, I will say that song down here is ridiculously huge. We didn't have Christmas in Hollis. We didn't have Fairy Tale of New York. And kids, there's a lot of kids at some of these schools that don't even know the words to Jingle Bells, but they will sing Feliz Navidad with all their heart.
It's still huge. Like, it's huge here. And
really?
I wondered, I think it was like a few Christmases ago, and like it was half joking, but like I'm serious. It was back when we all were still on Twitter. Like, how is Jose Feliciano not the world's richest man?
Well, he's got to be. The reason we know it is it was licensed everywhere for every movie, every TV show. You could sing it.
But he must have gotten a terrible deal, because from what I've read about him, he's nowhere near as rich as he should be.
Yeah.
That's the big. I would argue, because it's really hard to make a Christmas song catch on. In the past 50 years, there have been, let's say, 3. Because now I'm not even adding Christmas in Hollis. I'm gonna add him. I'm gonna add Mariah Carey, and Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer.
That's true.
Everything else is just a remake of Perry Como and Nat King Cole. Like the guy should be a trillionaire.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But it is funny that they picked this. It's like, of course, they're going to pick this song, right?
Like, imagine.
On the other hand, it fit,
them,
so
because this was hot at the time,
right?
Like,
it was only like
alone,
10 years old or so.
Rubik's not on DVD. It's this song.
They couldn't get the video rights.
Right.
But they're singing Feliz Navidad. They're driving in the car, and the car is like packed. It's like one of those old station wagons from the 80s, and it's packed to the gills with like gifts. The dog is in the back seat, and he has space to like run around. So this thing was huge. It was like a TARDIS in there.
It was very roomy.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And the kids are bored. So like Rubik is like, hey, I know I try to hide my stuff from the parents, but I'm going to just go ahead and make this doll come to life and talk. And
even Lisa's doll is bored.
Leave her alone. Rubik has fun idea.
Hello, Lisa. I'm Rosita.
He doesn't even care that the parents are like literally in the front seat.
Yeah, this upset me. You think it's like this whimsical thing, right? Because Rubik makes the rag doll stand up and dance, and the dog is like, huh?
Right.
But then all of a sudden, he takes away the mobility. It just drops to the ground. The dog picks it up and shakes it like it caught a rabbit. Like, the kids are laughing about it, but that's terrifying, because that's Cujo action right there. The dog has a killer instinct. He's trying to shake this rag doll to death. And they're like, ha 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 ha. It was just dancing. And
the dog was protecting his master, because this necromancer just brought this doll to life.
I did love how the dog mugs to the camera. You just like, huh? Oh man, it was fantastic. But yeah, like, okay, what are Rubik's powers? Because they seem to be unlimited, but I don't know the extent of it. It's like telekinesis, but not really, because he makes the doll talks, right? I believe the doll actually says something. So like,
it at least makes some sort of noise. Yeah. And it's like, he basically all it is he gets like a halo of like yellow light around him, and then he can shoot out a beam, and then it does whatever needs to be done in the moment, except when it doesn't, because they need dramatic tension, which we'll talk about in a bit. But
right. But then the other thing is like, why are the kids even allowing him to do this when the parents are right there? Like, they're so protective of him. They don't want the parents to know. And yet, I mean, look, I've ridden in a car on long drives because it takes 10 hours to get south to see my folks. I know what my kids are up to. And we have a van, and I still know what the youngest way in the back is doing. Like, how are they not seeing this? I don't understand.
It was a different time. Those first like 3 hours, the kids were like, no, Ronaldo, we can't do it. But this is pre-Game Boy. This is pre like cell phone. So eventually they're like, all right, let out Rubik.
Whatever.
just keep him below Dad's eyesight, his eye line.
That's right.
Well, we do have to talk about real quick just also the physics of hiding Rubik, because Carlos is always putting Rubik in different pockets where he couldn't possibly fit.
No.
Like, he's gigantic, but when he goes in, it's like the Megatron, whatever that concept is, that when he can turn into a tiny gun from a giant robot.
Yeah.
Like he'll fit wherever he needs to fit.
Is that really what we're gonna harp on? That like he's not fitting in pockets? Because I'm pretty sure that's like power number 13. It fits in any pocket.
I get it though. I do get it, because like 80s jeans were tight. They were.
Yeah. This is not cargo shorts and cargo pants era.
Right. Yeah. Right. The 90s were Jenko, but this was like Levi. I mean, this stick to your thigh jeans. So
little do we know, one of those kids grows up to like design for Jenko. He's like, no, you don't understand.
That's my headcanon.
Pockets gotta be huge.
We need pockets. Carpenter pants, everything. So yeah, they're going to go see their grandma, and Grandma Rodriguez, she's like, I guess she's like the matriarch of this tiny little Mexican town, because she's completely hooked up with everything. She's organizing like this big toy drive. She's going to provide toys to all the town's kids.
That old Rodriguez lady, something else, trying to get those town kids these toys for Christmas. She's a real Mrs. Santa Claus.
And I gotta say, later on when we see her house, it's like mega huge. So,
well, she's the Bruce Wayne of this village. She's a total superhero. She gets transmissions on her granny phone that call her into action. She flies planes. She drives fast cars. She wears a helmet with a visor. Like,
saw that it's like Speed Racer. She got a Speed Racer helmet.
This is a backdoor pilot, for her own TV show. This is crazy to me.
See, you went positive with it because you have a good heart. Like, when they show her house, I was like, hold up.
Drug dealer.
Hold up. That house was gorgeous. And then it's like, she's not old. Like, we'll get it. Like, she's not old enough. Like, she's way too 50s. Much of a gilf to be a granny, And it's like, she's this trope that I despise, which is grandma who doesn't act her age. But I'm okay with it when she looks like that. Is when she's like all like old and on a cane, but she rollerblades. That's the one I loathe.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. When did the extreme grandma trope begin? Was it Beverly Hillbillies? Like Granny Clampett could do all this stuff that an old lady couldn't? Harold and Maude? Like, what was it?
But see, even Granny Clampett, hers was like she had a spry mind, but also she was usually on some moonshine to like wind her up. Like, I love me some Beverly Hillbillies.
Right.
No, my thing is like the one who won't act rich, the queen of this whole mountain, Mother Winslow from Family Matters.
Oh,
like she's playing tennis in the opening credits.
Yes,
and
she
she's
is.
Always like she'll make a joke like, "Oh, I borrowed this skirt from Laura." Like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. And like that was a very much like early 90s thing. The grandma on Beetleborgs, same situation.
Yes.
Like, it's just, I hate that. But like, that's not what this lady is. Like you said, it is a backdoor pilot for what? I don't know, Scrabble? Is it a Scrabble cartoon?
Wait, I have to ask you guys too. Was I hearing things, or did they call her Gran Maria?
Come on, kids. We're almost at Gran Maria's town. Enjoy the beautiful Mexican scenery.
If I see one more cactus tree, I think I'll die.
Like Grandma Maria. And then or is it Grandma Ria? Which sounds like a digestive issue plaguing senior citizens. But I'm just saying.
I think you're right, but I thought, and I could be wrong, I thought it was Grandma Rita, like Rita, but
That's
maybe
what I heard. But now I kind of know what an episode.
I don't know. I like yours
Grandma
better.
Ria.
Yeah. Grand Maria would be the greatest Latin pun name since Batman Well on the live action the TV series. So I'm just like, I want Grand Maria.
That might be a mistake, but it's not for Batman Well to judge.
Well, speaking of sounds, did anyone else notice the Transformers transformation noise when the truck hits the speed bump?
Oh.
No, I didn't.
Well, I'm not kidding me, amigo.
I swear, I listened to it 3 different times. I was like, was that what I thought it was? Because they're not even the same studio. No. But maybe it was the file we all watched. Go back and listen. It when it gets stolen and they hit a bump, for some reason it goes like.
Oh, you mean
I'm like, why?
Stolen by the obvious Pachuco stereotypes,
Mexico Fonzie?
Yeah, I was like, all right, this guy's a greaser. It's okay.
Right. Which is then stolen by the worst stereotype.
Yeah, so much Grand Theft Auto in this episode. I was like, oh no.
Well, they don't steal it. Remember, he gives it. They give it to him later on.
Yeah, to the other crooks.
They offer to buy it. They say how much for the car, and he's like, just take it.
Which is weird because if you look at the look on that guy's face, I was amazed he even offered to give them anything because he's pulling them up and he's like, oh, this will be perfect for our job. So he was going to kill him anyway.
Also, how did they pull the whole car with rope?
All these superpowers.
Everybody has superpowers.
How did they see it? They didn't watch it go over. It's like they were just looking over oh, well, for our job, let's see if there are any trucks caught on the side of this. Hey, there you go.
I love this whole bit because it's I think everybody in Mexico is some sort of crazy action hero,
But all funded by grandma.
Yeah,
that's right. She's doing private tests on them, experiments to get them, super strength. But yeah, so grandma's going to give away these toys. They're packing up the toys into the trucks. These 2 Chucos steal it. And you're right. Well, he's totally Mexican Fonzie, which was great. And all right, they kind of take it. Meanwhile, grandma's speeding down the winding mountain roads, driving Fast and Furious Vin Diesel over here, Mexico Drift or something.
Family.
And she's just, like you mentioned, she's feisty. She's in jeans. She's got that Huipil colonial blouse. I mean, it's yeah, get it, Granny.
Mexico Drift is the movie you find in Walmart when Tokyo Drift is out. It's
oh yeah, that's the Asylum.
It's Asylum Studios, exactly. Yeah, that's the Asylum version of it. And she even says something like, "You must keep a zest for life, huh, kids?" I was like, "Oh, all right, Granny."
But by the way, what does happen to the parents? The parents literally just drop the kids off with Abuelita and then they disappear. I don't understand.
Maybe they're staying a week. Maybe it's they're staying a week by themselves in Cozumel, so they just drop them off over here.
They're see you at New Year's.
That's right. Yeah, either that or no, I don't know. Maybe
no, good for Granny.
Joke. I won't say that one. I was going to make a cartel joke, but that's terrible, so I won't. But yeah, they're look outside. They're watching some kids hitting a piñata. And I mean, that's when Granny gets the call on her CB radio that, hey.
A couple of boys stole a truck loaded with Christmas toys.
So they head out to go stop it because she's literally the James Bond of grandmas.
Gonna save the day.
Now, about that region, were landlines not prevalent? Would it have been common for her to have just had a phone and they call it? Or is this something that would have happened in that part of the world in 83 of oh, well, she's remote. Let's hop on the CB radio.
See, that's a good question because in the Valley, we all had phones. I mean, no big deal. But the Valley was right on the Mexico-US border, Mexico-Texas border. So the other side, you'd still find payphones. So I assume they have phones, but I never went really far in until my 20s. So I don't know. I just don't know. But
it was like it's a great, and also though we're coming out of the convoy
Bandit, right?
CB hype,
Right.
so it's like were they cashing in on that? It's there's so many questions.
Well, I have to ask. So obviously, Will, I don't think you probably had as many opportunities. Like where you grew up, Jerry, where I grew up in Southern California, like we could cross the border and go to Tijuana.
Yep.
I'd go see some stuff. I assume you were making trips to Mexico on a fairly regular basis. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It was like once every couple of months we'd go down, and because the medicines were cheaper. so you'd go get some medicines, and then
my wife's grandparents, they lived on the border of Arizona, and they do all their dental work and everything.
Everything over there
across the border. Yeah.
Yep. So much cheaper. So yeah, we went over quite a bit. There was a lot of poverty along the border, so I will say that. But the food was always delicious, I gotta say. So, but yeah, so the grandma and the kids are gonna go recover this truck and stop these thieves. So good for them, man. They have a lot of faith in themselves. But the thieves are driving fast on this winding mountain road, and because they're so reckless, they crash. And like we said, they kind of fall off this cliff, and luckily there's a branch there that doesn't look strong enough to hold their truck, but it's holding it. And also, luckily, they packed the toys in so well that none of them fell out of the back. And then these two dudes, just Indiana Jones villains or something, just kind of come up, and
these two ne'er-do-wells, it's like, even if you knew nothing about this show or that part of the world, you're like, those are people
bad
to
guys.
Leave your kids with.
Yep. Yeah, those are bad guys.
Yeah. They have mustaches.
This old heap will be perfect for our plan, Marco.
Yeah, you're right. We could load it up with the gold and jewels, and no one will be able to trace us in it.
Gracias, amigo.
What do you kids want for the truck?
Huh? You can have it.
You got the deal.
Well, what's crazy to me is all this is happening. And remember, the show is called Rubik the Amazing Cube, and it feels like we've barely Rubik.
Talked about Rubik
This is Granny's adventure, really, is what this is all about. This is all set up to put her into action. And so that is just wild to me that just all these new characters, these duos keep showing up, and you're just like, what about Rubik?
there was one writer who's like, come on, read my script for Mexican Mommy. And then we'll
Super
put it in
Abuela.
production, and then they just shove Rubik into it.
Yeah, it's like his spec script for Super Abuelita or something, Yeah. But yeah, and so we do get a little bit of Rubik, because while all this is happening, the kids they're driving, and the map that Carlos is using to kind of track down stuff flies away, and Rubik has to go retrieve it. This is where we find out it's been caught by a chicken. And then he uses
his
voodoo magic to turn the chicken into an egg. Yeah.
I mean, that's horrifying.
I guess we know which one came first
for that chicken. He's like, I'm back in the womb. What's happening now? And then it breaks open, and the chicken is fully formed. It just comes out again, when he's all done.
Well, I was watching that, and my first instinct was like, maps. And then I was like, I the more I thought about it, I'm like, what is this map helping? Because grandma should know the area, and it's not like the map has it's not like a tracking device. So it's like you either know where a road is or you don't. It's not going to show you where the truck went. It'll show you where it could have gone. So that felt like filler.
It's not like Find My Phone, right?
This episode had 8 minutes worth of real plot.
And they're like, man, it's 8 minutes long. Just fill this out. I don't know. Something about a chicken. What came first, the chicken or the egg? I got an idea. But so the kids crash the truck, these thieves. And so they hire these, well, not hire, but these guys come by that are very cartel looking dudes. And they just with rope pull this truck up with their magic strength. And they, like we mentioned, the kids just give them their truck. And this is where the men decide they're going to dump the toys at the old Aztec ruins so that they can go get some gold or something from the Aztec pyramid somewhere else.
That's the purest part of this episode, is that like none of the people were after the toys. You know, it was like you would have thought they would get the toys and sell them, or like disappoint those kids Christmas. Like the greaser kid was like, oh, if we'd known, we wouldn't have taken the truck. And even these guys didn't want the toys. It was like they rescue the truck and they're like, hey, look, there's toys, but to them they're junk. These are new toys that survived going over a cliff. And they're like, we'll get rid of this and fill it with the good stuff, you know.
Well, that's what I thought they were going to do, though. I thought they were going to put like their gold or the money or whatever inside the toys and hide them that way. But yeah,
that's
this
better
whole
too.
thing that is Christmas based and Christmas toys, the toys have nothing to do with the plot at all.
No, they literally just throw them out.
In my evil heart and mind, they worked for Granny. It was going to go full circle.
It was going to be a tax write-off. Insurance fraud. Tax write-off and insurance fraud. Really,
how do you think I paid for all of these marvels?
But so the men decide, like I said, they're going to drop these toys off, and this is where the one in that pale yellow guayabera is. He's worried about the curse of like the Aztec pyramid and the ancient ruins.
First, we'll dump the toys at the old Aztec ruin, and then we'll hit the pyramid. What about the curse? Bah, there's no curse, but there's the ruins. Yeah, and by the time the policia find this junk, we'll be long gone with our treasure.
The curse that will come back later, but not really. It's just kind of in passing. So
this is where we have to fault the terrible American education system, because they're talking about pyramids. I'm like, but they're not in Egypt. It's like, I don't know.
Right. The Aztec pyramids. Yeah.
I have gone on record. I don't know geography. So, like, I did not know there were pyramids down there.
There were.
Thinking about it, those are the ones with the steps.
Exactly.
Like the Egyptian ones are just the
right. Right. These are the ones that actually kind of make like sense to climb.
Right.
So yeah, Grandma, she's got her speed racer helmet on. They're driving down the road, and the car just happens to overheat. But luckily, Grandma has like a spare fan belt and just fixes it up and keeps moving. This had nothing to do with anything. I don't know why they threw that in there. I think you're right. It was just filler. And but Rubik was able to like tow them into town, like, and the boys pretend like it's them. So, and Grandma's just like, good job, boys.
Like she doesn't have a rear view mirror or notice they're 5 feet off the ground.
Right. It's like a land speeder action in Star Wars, right? They're just kind of floating. She doesn't notice that the car's glowing or as they're flying by.
But she's just playing along, just has her foot on the gas.
Yeah, it's like, good. Oh, you guys are doing excellent.
Right.
But that's a total grandma move too. So
yeah. Oh, my grandsons with their big, strong muscles.
And while they're at like their gas station or the car place, the car garage, the boys that stole the car in the first place, you know, these gangsters like come and like, hey, by the way, we're sorry we took the toys, but these two dudes have them, so you probably should go get them. So,
and at that point, I'm like, but no, you just committed a crime. Like you're not getting off here. Like you got to go to jail overnight or something because you put this into motion.
But it was the 80s, you know, boys will be boys. That's terrible. It's super bad. But they don't get punished because now they have to go find these toys first. And conveniently, the truck full of the toys and those two guys just happen to be driving by at this exact same time.
No, is this where Grandma plays chicken with the truck? Am I remembering this right?
Yes.
Grandma is jumping out into the middle of the road, and she is just like, she's going to stop it somehow. And the kids are like, Grandma, I don't think they see you. I was like, oh, they see her.
They see her.
Stopping for anything.
They're just bad dudes.
But see, they don't know Grandma had a death wish anyway. You know, it's like, this is the part of the episode where I was like, okay, Grandma's kind of hot. This is hot.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Action Jackson when Carl Weathers when he's like, "Come on," the car's coming towards him, and he's like, "Come on, hit me, come on." I really got that whole vibe there.
Well, now Rubik saves the day again here. He saves Grandma, but in the strangest way. We've seen him just levitate things. We just saw him, levitate an entire truck and all that, right? But now, what does he do? He puts her in a whirlwind and like spins her out of the way and off to the side of the road. I was like, what is this choice?
But at first, it looked like he encased her in a gem, which then became a whirlwind. Like the animation was so weird there.
Yeah.
But I thought it was to kind of cloud what had happened. Because if you levitate her, then she knows she's flying. But like if you do it this way, she's just kind of like, where'd that come from? You can just write it off as like an act of God that just came at the right moment. Like he's still trying to pretend to be like hidden.
But also, like, if he wanted it to be more natural or to look as if, it wasn't something crazy, he could have he could have levitated one of the kids and kind of made them, like push up against her, kind of like grab her as if they were diving to get her out of the way.
Standards and practices wouldn't have gone for that.
That's true.
He could have early.
This is early.
He could have just stopped the truck. Like just a blast to the hood of the truck.
How dare you be so logical, sir? Yeah, he totally could have just done that. Could have like pop the tires. I mean,
just like nowadays they'd explain it, be like, well, he released a localized EMP, but like then like no, just lightning blast to the hood.
Yeah, you could have put that in a giant egg. I don't know. But yeah, and unfortunately, this is where Rubik like drops into the bed of the truck. Right, he bounces around and he kind of gets all scrambled a little bit.
Yeah, so this is my question. So when the one thing I did remember about the show, when it's in the opening credits, is that to activate Rubik, to bring him alive, you have to solve the cube.
You have to solve him. Yeah,
that he pops out. So and they don't really explain it here when he ends up in the back of the truck and suddenly he's just a cube again. I had to watch a different episode where it does happen. Like, oh, he got scrambled again. We got to go find him. Like that happens most episodes. This one, like they don't explain it to you. They're just like, well, you've seen 10 episodes at this point.
That's right. This is old hat by now.
Yeah. And so that was kind of strange to me. But to me, this ended up being like a total R2-D2 could fly all along scenario from the prequels, because he ends up, like in like he goes off a cliff again. There's more going off a cliff.
There's a lot of cliffs.
Nest, right?
Yeah. Yes, he does, into an eagle's nest.
So he's there, and you would just think, oh, he could just levitate himself out. But I guess it's because he's scrambled still. But when they save him, do they undo? Like,
yeah. So it takes 4 seconds. Mike Westfall actually timed this out. So thank you, Mike. It's 4 seconds for Carlos, who lowered himself down, to solve Rubik. So talk about speed cubing.
Yes,
like that's insane.
But someone needs to call CPS on Granny, because I was getting angry at this part of the episode when like I was like at first she was gonna go, she was gonna do it like, and I thought maybe it was a cultural thing, because I was just kind of like, in a black family they'd be like, well, I guess you don't have a Rubik's cube anymore. Like once it went over the cliff, be like, well, don't ask for another one.
Well, so this is where we're like tipped off that Granny kind of knows that Rubik is magic, because she says, no, we gotta save your cube first, and then we'll go get the toys. So it's like, and later on we find out she says, I've known all along. So it's like, I think she knew like they were going to recover these toys without this cube.
But it's also
she let a child descend.
That's true. Well, you're right. It is Lisa.
Lisa guilts her older brother.
Totally guilt trips him.
Oh, you're not going to let Grandma do that. You're my big, strong older brother. You're so brave. And then like he goes down and gets lowered down on the rope. You're like, oh.
Complete manipulation. Like whoever dated and married Lisa, like I feel bad for that guy, because
oh yeah, she totally pulled a Mary Jane where she just threw herself off a building to prove that Spider-Man would save her,
right, or Lois Lane and Superman 2, right? I mean, just oh man. But yeah, after that little emotional manipulation, they lower Ronaldo down. And I like how the eagle, like, because it lands in a nest and the eagle like attacks him, and he's like,
"Hey amigo, I don't want your eggs.
Have you guys seen Almost Heroes with Chris Farley and Matthew Perry?
Yes.
That is a running gag in that, where he has to go climb this tree and get an eagle's egg, and the eagle keeps attacking him. Like, he just, every time Chris Farley gets attacked, and then he wants to eat the egg because he's so hungry, but he has to resist, and then he can't, and he eats the egg and feels bad, has to climb up again and get another egg and get attacked by the eagle. I wish we had a little bit of that going on here.
Yeah, but also, like, why did any of this have to happen? It's just, it was so odd. But anyway, so Grandma and the kids take a prop plane, right, to scout out the territory because Grandma has everything. I don't know where they got this plane, but she's also a pilot. So this is like, she's literally awesome, Grandma.
Well, she said something like, "Thank goodness my friends didn't take their plane." Like, I kept trying to rewind it, but it was just like conveniently a plane there that she had at her disposal. But they kind of explain like, "Oh, it's not hers. She just she knew a guy."
Yeah, okay. But either way, she's still a pilot. Like, that's good for her. Yeah.
There's nothing she can't do.
I want a backstory on Grandma where she's like in Vietnam doing like covert operations.
Crossover with Ruby Spears' Rambo.
Yes. That would be amazing. Turns out like she saved Rambo's life one time. And
I could have killed them all. I could have killed you. In town, you're the law. Out here, it's me. Don't push it. Don't push it. I'll give you a war you won't believe.
Oh, man. But yeah, so they spot the truck at the pyramid, right? They spot the drivers who immediately also spot the plane. And the truck's going off the road. And Grandma, this is where she says, like, "Hey."
Use your cube, niños.
And they're like, yeah, I've known all along. Like, just use your cube already, kids. Rubik telekinetically picks up the truck, puts it back on the road. And the dudes think it's like the curse that's like come to haunt them. So this is where the curse comes back, but not in a rewarding or fulfilling way at all. And as they're trying to get away, Rubik does the craziest thing where he like enlarges their feet so they can't move. Like, let's just throw in a little bit of body horror in this kid's.
Yeah, it's the only like truly crazy cartoon moment, and like it's like 100 times their normal size, these giant feet. But may have found a new comedy fetish because that visual just fascinated and cracked me up. I was just like, what is this? Because it's what woke me up during this episode. Because I'm like, oh, giant feet? Huh?
That's nothing to laugh at. He gave them super diabetes. They're going to lose their feet.
That's probably true. That's probably true.
They're losing those feet, maybe to the knee. We don't know.
Well, Grandma's going to give him compression socks for Christmas.
We have to assume that he's going to turn back. Because remember, he turns after he catches a chicken in the egg, he's like flying away, but then he remembers, so he goes back and frees it. So maybe after the cops come, he remembers, and I don't know.
We don't know. Rubik could be the Punisher on his planet or in his dimension.
True.
You know,
that's true.
Like, we don't know his motivation
because we don't know anything about him.
Like that.
All we know is that an evil magician had him. And as the magician was like going through town, a suburb, by the way, in like his horse and buggy, he like loses him like the way Gollum lost the ring, you know? And so it's like the one ring here. It's just he's going to find a new owner, and he does. But that's all we know about Rubik. We don't know anything else. It's the craziest.
Yeah, I know. I kept going through there's only 12 episodes.
12 or 13.
Is there an origin episode? And like, there was nothing. Like, I was like, no, they're not explaining anything about him other than there's this guy that used to own him. That's all you know. Yeah, It's crazy.
And in a lot of the episodes, he's the main villain. He's like trying to get Rubik back, which, yeah, if you have like this omnipotent pet, yeah.
Which that magician, he's just that huckster from Pete's Dragon, right? Isn't that who it is? Like,
it does look like him, yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
But it's very much like Galactus, though, where it's like, is he a villain? He owns the thing. Like, that's his possession and he wants it back. Like, does that make him evil? Now, if he used Rubik for like nefarious things, maybe. But see, this is the problem with the 80s where everything was just all black and white, US versus Russia. Like, I don't think that makes him a bad guy.
Well, just like the guy who lost his hat to Frosty. He's like, that was my hat that brought this guy to life. That's my magic. Give me back my hat.
And they're hiding behind finders keepers. That doesn't hold up in the Supreme Court.
I don't know, man.
but thinking about this show and how there's only 13 episodes, you brought up a good point where it's like they have to solve him and they have to do it pretty quickly. This would have been a much better show if Rubik kind of ended up with a new human every episode, and then like it changes the level of drama because some people are going to solve him quicker than others, or the kid has to figure out like when he gets scrambled, they're like, Rubik, why aren't you doing anything?
Would it work if you took off
I have to
the
solve
stickers?
Him, you know? Yeah, well, that would be like the season finale of like what happens when you're a sticker mover and then you end up in like hell or something.
Hellraiser, yeah.
the Event Horizon universe.
Yeah. No, I think that's how you get dark Rubik, is that like you switch it out and then you get different variations like kryptonites. You know, you change the stickers, you get
this
different
was the era
Rubiks.
of Kit and Car, right? So maybe there's like a doppelganger that comes out. But so they see the empty truck and they're like, what happened to all the toys? And Lisa starts crying because she can't believe they're going to have the worst Christmas ever. And Rubik, because he's awesome and all powerful, uses her tears to like project the image of where,
it's like the sword of omens in her tear.
That's right.
This?
She gets sight beyond sight in her tears.
We will have Christmas. Look, Lisa's tear.
The toys! They're in the ruins!
So then he just teleports them to the ruins where the toys are. And the kids load up the toys. Rubik doesn't help till the end, by the way. Which I was like, come on, man, you're all powerful. You could have had this done in like a minute or less. But I guess the kids got to work for it. So, but then he just kind of flies them off Santa style. He levitates the car and he leads it like a reindeer. And the last bit is that they wish it would snow and he makes it snow. And then we get a little brief Santa beard and mustache and hat on.
And he looks like Papa Smurf.
He does look like Papa Smurf.
They just pulled another cell from the studio next door.
But I was thinking about that snow. I mean, he's destroying crops. I mean, this is not good.
No, this is a whole
this area to have their ecosystem totally changed for a few hours.
But also like
geoengineering gone wrong.
Rubik doesn't talk enough. I don't want Frank Welker making noises, but like for the fact they went out and paid Horshack, make him talk more,
And he needs a catchphrase. Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at this and I'm kind of like, it'd be awesome. This is kind of like, remember early internet where people would take like all these like wholesome things and make them bad, like chop sandwiches, like the G.I. Joe stuff and all that. Like, I like to think there's a cut out there. Yeah, there's a cut of Rubik out there where he's just like a staunch like conservative who just hates everything, like when he's not helping them unload the toys, he's like made in China. Like that's my only like justification. Like I'm like, maybe they just had to take a bunch out because like Horshack just was like out of his mind in the studio.
They're like, just they're in the studio, like, just give us a few lines here that we can maybe throw in randomly, and they're like, oh, we can't use any of that.
It was my show, and then they found Travolta outside the first day we started shooting. I was the sweat hog. It was my show.
But like, that's it. That's the whole episode, and it was wild, man. It was like the early 80s. Even more so than like the mid 80s, the early 80s were out there because they still had little bits of that 70s vibe to them. And man, This is
was
what we
the
get.
problem with and again, I want to know more about the production side of things, but ABC would give anything a cartoon. And it's there are all these huge franchises that ran forever that ended up with these one season cartoons that we're not allowed to talk about. There's Gilligan's Planet, and there's all the Fonzie Happy Days cartoons, and it's just so strange where they're was it kind of a hit? We'll animate it. That was their pipeline.
Well, and they only needed 13 episodes because then they could show it 4 times a year. They were only on Saturdays. So that's typically why a lot of them had, especially not the non-syndicated shows, these major network shows. It was just, that's all we need, and we'll just rerun it.
Then they teamed him up, like you said. They're saying, we'll put this one with this one, Laverne and Shirley and Fonzie and all that stuff. Yeah,
exactly. So, they weren't sweating it. They're like, who cares if it's a hit? We have Pac-Man now. Throw it in with there. They're both shapes. Everybody likes
Dukes
shapes.
of Hazzard. Why not?
Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah. If you could be in this episode, who would you be?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I think the answer for all of us has to be Granny. We want to be as awesome as Granny, right?
You're right. Yeah. I think you're right.
I'd be Dad, who was smart enough to get the heck out of there.
He's like, your mom and I are going to go spend Christmas by ourselves. Peace.
Because you got to think of it this way. Okay, so Granny saw Rubik, right? So that means Dad and Mom have totally seen Rubik.
They probably have, yeah.
But when you get into the whole, that's one of those points in life where you're I could acknowledge this, and it's a long road of therapy and experimental drugs, or my life is good. I got a big station wagon. My wife looks good. I was just playing dumb is the way to go.
Well, that's why they could leave the kids alone. They trusted the Rubik would protect them, right? They're like, hey, we're good. They have a great guardian. They're gonna be fine. Let's go get our groove on, and we'll get back. We'll come back for Christmas.
Yeah, but see, that attitude is going to come back to bite them in the season finale when you move the stickers.
When you move the stickers, and the kids are trapped in limbo.
Where have you taken my children?
Oh, but then the parents and the grandma have to go rescue them. I'd be into that.
It'd be a very Stranger Things type of scenario.
Yeah, they're the upside down.
They're about to, and grandma's like, I know what I'm doing. You guys stay here in case somebody CBs for me.
That's right. That's right. Oh, man. What would you guys say? We don't really have a whole lot of memories, but what would you say is your happiest moment from this episode?
Well, I mean, I gotta say, I'm grouping this again with my fondness as the only one who really watched it in a regular basis. That vivid feeling of sitting in a silent, dark living room before the sun came up, this magic hour, turning on the TV to watch Rubik the Amazing Cube on our little TV. It sat on a wheeled cart. That's one of my most nostalgic memories, one of my happiest memories. And then watching this episode and then just going, giant feet? Okay. That's probably my happiest memory. I guess it got wacky sometimes.
That's so sad. You basically watched Norman Rockwell get shot in the back of the head while he was painting your child. You had all these great memories, and then you were like, giant feet. Your search history was never the same.
Quentin Tarantino wrote it. It's right. Yeah, and Rennie Harlan directed. It was,
my favorite, and I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but it really is the Granny. It's the introduction of the Granny, but because awesome. She's not what we were led to believe. When we meet her, I'm scared she's going to be that Granny I hate, but what she actually is, she's only a Granny for the sake of age difference, and honestly, as old as the father looks, she could have been his sister. So for me, she's that eccentric aunt And that's a character I actually love. The one who's like always single because no man can tame her. And she was wearing pants when it wasn't allowed. And like Amelia Earhart was her like hero. You know that one where it's like she's been on adventures. She's seen the world. Like no one can tame her, but she's had her loves and she's made her mistakes, but she regrets nothing. Like
she's trained with MI6.
yes.
Right. Yeah. So mine's actually kind of right there in between because I do have fond memories of the show. I remember the theme song. At the time, I couldn't sing it, but if I heard it, I was like, well, that's Rubik's Cube. And it just made me feel, just remember all the awesomeness of like the early 80s. But, it was really just, I don't know, just I guess all the memories of like menudo at my grandma's house and my cousins leaving their Rubik's Cube just on the table and trying to solve it. So that's really about it. But now we come to my favorite part of the show, which is a little segment I call Gag Me with the Spoon, where we do our best impression of our least favorite part of this episode. As the guests, I'll let you go first. Just kind of set up the scene for us a little bit.
Well, I will say it's my least favorite only because they didn't do enough with it. It was a brief moment in time, and I think you know where this is going because it's the only thing I've talked about this entire episode. But the reaction to like this, this gross deformity of their feet, and then just the one guy just goes, "Ee?" And the other guy goes, "Our feet." That's it. Like, that's the only reaction.
Yeah. Not like going into shock or anything. Yeah.
It'd be better if they overdubbed it with "It's happening again." Because then you want to know, like, again?
Like what happened the first time. Yeah.
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 Because Granny's been dumping her supply in the river, and now everything's dosed. Everybody's just like, oh.
That's right. They think they're just on a bad trip or something.
Yeah.
What do you think, William?
My favorite is like, what do you boys want for the truck? Because like they weren't really gonna pay them for the truck. No, they were gonna murder them. But when the boys did put up a fight, they're like, well, he like put his murdering knife back in his boot,
That's right. That's amazing. So I went with Carlos. So this is after the whole chicken bit. They're like driving. And Rubik's done his thing and he goes, "Sorry, Rubik, old buddy, but I can't take the chance Grandma will see us." And as he's like shoving him into his pocket, you're like, come on, like Grandma's seen something already. There's like glowing energy. It's like all over the place. She's seen something. These kids. But anyway, but G.I. Joe taught us that knowing is half the battle. What do you guys think is the other half?
I'm pretty sure it's knowing that the back of your pickup truck that you stole is filled with Christmas toys, which no one who ever drove the truck seemed to notice. Like
right.
We didn't know. If we had known, we wouldn't have taken it. What? And then like even the crooks, I don't think see it until they're just like, we got to empty it, right? They're just like there wasn't what they were after. So it's just again, that whole idea. You got to pay attention, guys. Let's see what we can do here. Think about your options.
Check the back of the pickup. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, William?
If knowing is half the battle, the other half is you can always count on Granny.
Yeah. That's both of those are better than mine. I just thought if knowing's half the battle, the other half is just solving Rubik's cubes in seconds. So
save the day every time.
That's right. Guys, this has been a lot of fun talking about this bizarre but interesting, I guess, episode. Tell me about your shows. Anything else you want to plug?
Well, Wizards, the podcast guide to comics. Really, Gran Maria, she deserves her own comic book series. She is the superhero we all deserve.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we're busy talking about the comics of the 90s. Over 340 episodes at this point that you could go back and check our archives at wizardscomics.com, covering every issue of Wizard Magazine, which was the source of comic book news in the 90s. But now we're going into the year 2000. We just wrapped up into 2001. We're going to have so much more to talk about this kind of uncharted territory for a lot of people that dropped out in the 90s. And there's a lot of conversation to be had. Will is a frequent guest on the show, so you can certainly hear his opinions. But I will let him tell you about our show together. Remember that show?
Adam just boasted about his wife in front of his girlfriend, and then he then he passes the book. Okay, well, Remember That Show is the podcast that I do with Adam when he's not with Wizards, and we cover the forgotten or obscure shows of the 80s and 90s, just 80s and 90s. So we have covered everything from The Critic to the Saved by the Bell franchise. That's right. Good Morning, Miss Bliss, Saved by the Bell, The New Class, Saved by the Bell, the college years, like all of that. I mean, we just did the animated Tick, our most recent episode with Saban's Masked Rider. So we are dancing around Power Rangers in the Fox Kids era, and we've got a pretty cool event coming up soon. Adam, what is it called? Because we call it different things, and yours is better.
Called Come and Knock on Our Pod. So we're going to be exploring the universe of Three's Company spinoffs and the show that preceded it, that it was inspired by. We've been building to this for a while. We are undisciplined podcasters. So we're like, oh, what if we did this? What if we do this? Yeah, but we had this plan months ago. I know, but let's talk about this instead. And then, so we're finally getting to it, and we're very excited. Will loves his Three's Company. That is for sure.
We're saying that now. These celebrity deaths have really been getting us, because I texted Adam the other day, like, Thunder in Paradise.
Yeah.
So it's like we're building to it. I don't know if it's next.
No, I get it, because like I recorded on Headbangers Ball Christmas from '88 that Ozzy hosted.
Oh,
that's dropping. It dropped on August 4th, and then like I was supposed to record Trick or Treat, the '86 movie with Chad, and like Ozzy dies in that one, and I was like, oh man, I don't know, I want to cover it so bad, but like that feels wrong somehow. So I think we're still gonna do it. But yeah, I get it. It's like you start building these things and you're like, oh, but what about this instead? Like this, I know where I was gonna release it. I think this is moving up to like couple of weeks actually.
Okay.
Because this is fun. So
the thing I always say is you gotta ride the wave. Like it sounds bad, but it's like you're not mocking their death. If anything, you're honoring it and like what they like their contributions. And especially for what we cover, we kind of need a death. Because like this stuff is obscure. No one is they're like 1 in every 35 people maybe has thought about Swan's Crossing in the last 20 years.
Me. So I'll be honest, I have not.
And they all have restraining orders from Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yes.
But I will say, if you guys ever do find like the Christmas episode of Baby Boom, let me know, because I do want to cover that, and I cannot find it anywhere.
Well, that was our other plan, is like when we originally started the show, it's like, yeah, like every 4th episode will be a TGIF episode, and we'll cover all the TGIF shows. We have not covered any TGIF shows. Right. We never got to it.
We were going to do, like the second episode of every month was going to be like pilots that didn't take off. We did like 3. We have a trilogy, so
sometimes that's all you need, No, but I totally get it. There's like a ton that I have on my list of like TV. They have Christmas episodes that you cannot find anywhere. And when I ask people like, hey, you want to be a guest? They're like, what are you talking about? And I thought, well, if anyone would know, it would be you, but you've never heard of it. So now, okay, I don't know. But
we live in an era where truth means nothing. So you could really just script your own. Be like, so remember that
That's
time?
True.
The
I'm just gonna have
ChatGPT write it. Christmas episode, and then like Mark Paul Gosselaar showed up, and he was like Zach Morris, but from the future. Like, just nobody. That'll break Wikipedia, and that's what we live for.
True. Oh man, but yes, definitely go check out all of those. Wizards is fun. We talked to X-Men, Adam, and that was awesome because I was a huge X-Men fan. And Remember That Show You guys, that show rules. Like you nailed it every time. I love it. So, I mean, William, last time you were on, Chad couldn't stop talking about it. And he's right, because it's so fun. So great job. Guys, you got to go check those out. Let me just say one more time, thank you. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. This I love coming on here because I love Christmas. I'm almost a Christmas baby. And like this is always fun. You make me watch things that I would never watch.
Sometimes there's a reason for it, but it's always fun conversation. So I'll end it with, you're one Santa Claus helper, Rubik. So check us out on our social media pages, which you can find at linktree.com/totallyradchristmas. And if you're feeling like Rubik saving the day, leave us a review on iTunes. It helps us reach more people and spread some rad holiday cheer. Now, don't forget to check out our merch shop on tpublic.com and our super dope website, totallyradchristmas.com. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad. Prospero año y felicidad. Later, dudes.
Christmas.
Thank you, Rubik. You are estupendo.
But one thing's missing. Something around here the kids don't get to see very often.
What's that?
Snow! Rubik fix! Oh, Rubik, this is the best Christmas present ever.
Ho, 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 ho!